Welcome to Marin County Free Library's 2022 Children's and Teen Literature Review. We're excited to share some of our favorite recently published books and titles to look forward to later this year. This slideshow has audio embedded in each slide, which will play automatically as slides advance. Each presentation is available as a Bibliocommons list. Links to those lists will be provided on the last slide. Enjoy!
Hello, my name is Adrienne Graham and I'm a children's librarian with the Novato Library. I'm going to share with you today some of my favorite new and diverse easy chapter books that we have at the library. When we are talking about these types of books, we have some criteria that we follow to consider it an easy chapter. They're for grades 2 or 3, usually shorter than 100 pages, larger font and type that is easier to read, contain shorter paragraphs and chapters than regular chapter books, extra white space between the lines, more pictures than in a chapter book, though not always on every page. These are wonderful books made to encourage growing readers and help them transition to the chapter book format. Twins versus Triplets, Back to School Blitz, written by Jennifer Torres and illustrated by Vanessa Flores. David can't wait to go back to school and get far away from his trickster neighbors. But he's in for a surprise when a set of equally prank-loving triplets move onto his block and into his class. Now the twins and triplets are battling for control of the playground, and David is stuck in the middle. Can he end the prank war before recess gets canceled for the whole year? Sadiq and the Gamers, written by Siman Nurali and illustrated by Christos Skaltas. Sadiq and his friends are starting a video game club at school and planning a tournament for the whole school to participate in. But their teacher reminds them that they also have to have a service pledge, and they are not really sure how video games fit in with the goal of helping others, until a visit to an assisted living home where his mother volunteers gives him an idea. The Magnificent Makers, The Great Germ Hunt, written by Theanne Griffith and illustrated by Reggie Brown. Boom, snap, whiz, zap. The Magnificent Makers chapter book series is filled with science, adventure, and characters kids will love. In class, Violet and Pablo have been learning about the icky world of germs. Violet has been out sick and is excited she's feeling better. Achoo! Well, she's mostly feeling better. She and Pablo are paired up with another classmate, Aria, who is a bit nervous that Violet keeps sneezing. When another riddle appears to transport them back to the Maker Maze, a magical makerspace, to learn all about bacteria, viruses, and fungi, Violet and Pablo find out why Aria is so nervous. Aria's body has more trouble fighting off illnesses than their bodies do. Together, they learn all about good and bad germs and why staying home until you're 100% recovered is really important. Every book includes 2 science activities kids can also do at home. The Word Travelers and the Taj Mahal Mystery, written by Raj Haldar and illustrated by Neha Rawat. Are you ready for an adventure? The first book in a new action-packed series from best-selling author Raj Haldar follows 2 best friends as they race to different parts of the world to solve mysteries and uncover lost treasures. It's a super Saturday sleepover. That means best friends Eddie and Molly Jean, who prefers to be called MJ, are going to play outside, create obstacle courses for MJ's newts, and watch their favorite movies. And then they'll travel to India to solve a mystery and help save a school, all before bedtime. This action-packed mystery story is perfect for anyone looking for a wild adventure around the world that middle school kids will love, a story of 2 best friends solving mysteries with a little magic, cool new knowledge tucked inside an epic chapter book, and a journey to India to learn the Hindi roots of the English language. Magically travel around the world along with two best friends who decipher clues and uncover mysterious secrets. Can you help them find the golden key? The Candy Caper, written by Tom Watson and illustrated by Marta Kissy. Molly gets things stuck in her head sometimes. When she sees a jar of candy on Principal Shelton's desk, she absolutely needs to know how many candies are in that jar. Luckily, her two best friends, Simon and Rosie, are ready to help her find the answer, even if it means detention for all of them. King and Kayla and the Case of the Gold Ring, written by Dory Hillstead Butler and illustrated by Nancy Myers. King, Kayla, Mason, and Asia are playing in the snow. Later, Asia discovers her new gold ring is missing. What happened to it? Detective team King and Kayla are on the case. With simple, straightforward language and great verbal and visual humor, the King and Kayla series from Geisel Honor Award-winning team Dory Hillstead Butler and Nancy Myers is perfect for newly independent readers transitioning from easy readers to beginning chapter books. Great for introducing mysteries and the important concepts of fact gathering, list making, clues, and analytical thinking. And here are even more books for you to check out. All of the books recommended here and more will be available on my BiblioCommons list at the end of the presentation. Happy reading!
Hi, I'm Vanessa from the Bolinas Library, and I'm here to talk about some of my favorite graphic novels, most of which came out in 2021. These are books intended for an audience ranging from grades K through 6. They are a fun and engaging way to encourage kids in their love for books. So if you have a reluctant reader, this is a great gateway for young readers moving past picture books. Graphic novels do improve literacy skills and are also a fun way to connect and read with your kids. As adults, we will also easily get wrapped up into these stories. Every year, more and more graphic novels are coming out with authentic, heartfelt, and captivating stories, so there's always more to read for anyone with a voracious appetite for books. These are written by, for, and about a wider range of voices, characters, and subjects, allowing for windows and mirrors into the lives of others that we can identify and relate to, as well as sharing stories that are less historically told. This first book is a great one for beginners. Join the Crow Crowd. Book 2 of Arlo and Pip series, Elise Gravel gives us a witty read with plenty of humor and facts about crows. I learned some new things too. Written by a 2nd and 3rd grade teacher by day and a cartoonist by night, this author gives great insight into the world of a group of 4th grade students in Mr. Wolf's class. This delightful read showcases all the ever-evolving friendships and events that take place at school. It is book 4 of the series, and it is a great intro to graphic novels for young readers. Here are some more titles to check out for younger readers, K through 2nd. Remy Lai, the critically acclaimed author of Pie in the Sky and Fly on the Wall, brings us this delightful read about friendship and belonging. Jo Lin is a girl who befriends a very special dog and through a series of circumstances ends up having to face the consequences of what starts off as a tiny misunderstanding that turns into a larger lie that the whole town becomes involved in. This book is great for readers who are fans of Raina Telgemeier and those who love stories about dogs, but also will reach a wider audience captivated by the grabbing themes of resentment, forgiveness, and the power of community. My own son, who does not necessarily love dogs, was drawn in by the suspense of the choices that Jo has to make throughout her summer adventure. It's recommended for grades 3 and to 4, but my son, who is in 2nd grade, appreciated this book as well. With beautiful illustrations, Amy Chu and Janet K. Lee bring the 2nd book to this series. While keeping an eye on her aging grandfather with dementia, a spunky Vietnamese-American surfer girl and her cantankerous talking cat also find themselves deep in adventure, discovering underwater worlds and making friends with various sea creatures. In Book 2 of this new successful series, we continue to follow the 11-year-old Effie, her friends, and her 2 aunties, who also happen to be witches. Exploring the fantastical realm of modern-day witches, these graphic novels do a great job showing the complexities of friendship, family, and the responsibilities that come with magical powers. This is recommended for grades 4 through 6, but I would say that younger audiences will also enjoy these reads. This story follows 12-year-old Cece as she navigates the cultural differences and challenges after immigrating from Taiwan to Seattle. Missing her grandmother, who is still living in Taiwan, Cece decides to enter a cooking contest in an attempt to win enough money for a plane ticket for her grandmother to come visit. As the story unfolds, we watch Cece befriend some well-meaning but culturally clueless classmates, find friendship with her biggest competitor, and also thoughtfully question her parents' expectations. A must-read for anyone that enjoys books about food and fitting in. Eisner and Harvey Award-winning illustrator and graphic novelist from New Zealand, Katie O'Neill, gives us Book 3 of the series. O'Neill presents distinct, expressive, and diverse characters within this fantastical backdrop. The Tea Dragon Tapestry welcomes old friends and new into a heartfelt story of purpose, love, and growth. For anyone who is a twin or wants to know what it's like to have a twin or has siblings, this story follows identical twins Maureen and Francine as they navigate 6th grade, friends and their own autonomy from each other. This book is for anyone who has ever identified as a misfit. This fictionalized memoir recounts the author-illustrator's trials and tribulations growing up in a Mexican-Jewish-American family, trying to live up to his parents' expectations around weight, dealing with other physical health issues, fitting in at school, and attempting organized sports. Though Hootie and his imaginary friend have known it all along, we watch as his family and peers come to realize and embrace Hootie for who he truly is. Hootie's confidence, of course, only grows as he finds his self-worth through comedy and theater. Author of Pashmina and other books, Nadi Chanani brings us a new twist on time traveling. Shahi and her 15-year-old cousin Tanaz are transported back in time by an old mysterious jukebox that they discover up above a music shop in San Francisco. They dip in and out of different eras by putting on different records and learn a bit of musical history along the way, all while trying to find Shahi's missing dad, who is stuck in one of the album's past. This poignant graphic novel about growing up in a Kenyan refugee camp is based on co-author Omar Mohammed's experiences as an orphaned Somali refugee. We follow Omar and the community he has created as they learn how to adapt to refugee life, how to dream, and how to persevere when it feels like all hope is lost. Omar navigates the regular challenges of boyhood as well as what sometimes seems like the impossibilities of a refugee upbringing. At the end of the book, there are pictures of the author and his family along with more info of his actual life journey. A very inspiring, thoughtful tale. Californian-born Thomas King, who is also of Cherokee and Greek descent, has written several acclaimed children's books, including A Coyote Solstice. In this book, we follow a family trying to cross the American-Canadian border in order to see family. Through the eyes of a young boy, we watch what happens when his mother claims their citizenship as Blackfoot and refuses to identify as American or Canadian. Because of this, they become caught in limbo between nations. There are so many great titles out there right now. It is really hard to choose just a few to recommend. Here are some more, and also some exciting new publications to look forward to coming out in the new year.
Hello everyone, my name is Iris Meinhoff. I'm the Children's Services Librarian at the Fairfax Library, and I'm going to show you a few newish books that I read recently and very much enjoyed, and these are ones I fall back on a lot for Reader's Advisory recently at the library. Alright, enjoy. Alright, is everyone ready for quarantine books? There have been a lot of picture books about staying inside, and these are the first few chapter books that I read on the topic. The first one is called Res Dogs by Joseph Bruchac, and he is a very beloved children's author. This book is about a young girl whose visiting her grandparents on the reservation when lockdown hits in March of 2020, and at first she's very disappointed to be stuck there, and then gradually just kind of falls into it and enjoys it. And this book is written in prose, so it's kind of a quick read, and it's just a lovely, sweet book about, quiet times early on. My second book is called Sunny Days Inside and Other Stories by Carolyn Adderson. And this book follows children who live in an apartment building in a city. And so we get a chapter into each chapter shows us what's going on in the family life of each of these kids. And there's a little overlap. They find ways to communicate with each other. They also plan a big escape from the building where they want to step outside. So it's kind of a sweet view into different people's stories. Here's a great new series. There's 2 so far. It's called Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. And aside from being a really great adventure book, I wanted to just highlight this imprint by Riordan, who many of you know from the Lightning Thief books. And so similarly, he finds authors from different cultures who also incorporate folk tales from their cultures into the story. So this one has some West African and some African American tales woven in. And mostly it's about Tristan Strong, the protagonist, and he's got to kind of fight his way through this mystical world. And I like to bring this up because I know that a lot of kids are interested in the Riordan books, and I think it's really great that he has used his popularity to highlight other authors from different cultures. And so some of you may know Sal and Gabi Break the Universe or Race to the Sun. There are many of them, and you can recognize these books with that little logo that you see there. Another genre that's always popular with this age group are survival stories, and here's a great new one by Jewel Parker Rhodes. It's called Paradise on Fire. It's about a group of kids who live in the inner city in New York, and they're going on a wilderness retreat in California. And our protagonist, Addie, is afraid of fires and quite a nervous person generally, and always is planning escape routes and making maps, and she's really connected with the wilderness. This is her first time being out so far away from the city, and she's really enjoying it. And then of course the worst thing happens, and there's a giant forest fire while these kids are out hiking and camping, and so we get to follow them as they escape from the fire. It's quite a page turner and a really great coming of age tale. I've included a few others below here that also have survival elements. Here's a new book from popular author Alan Gratz. The latest one is called Ground Zero and was written in time for the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. In his wonderful way that he has of alternating narratives, one chapter tells the story of a boy who's going with his father to work at the Twin Towers on 9/11, and the alternating chapters are a young girl in Afghanistan, and she's telling the story of what's happened to her country. Sorry, in present day. Her story is present day, and his is 2001. And then he interweaves those narratives, as he often does. So I think kids will really enjoy this one and get the history on it a little bit. And there's some other realistic fiction books I've included here about war and disaster. One is about Chernobyl, one is about Syria, and one about Sudan.
Hi everyone, this is Clara, Youth Selector for MCFL, and I'm here with a look ahead to children's titles releasing in 2022 with some picture books to start us off. Pow Wow Day is a contemporary Native American story about River, a girl recovering from an illness who is still too weak to dance at the powwow, even though she longs to join in. The fancy dancers twirl and ribbons whirl, while the grass dancers sway and weave themselves around the circle. But River can't feel the drum's heartbeat, and her feet stay still. Thankfully, River's friend says she will dance for her. Additional information at the end of the book explains the history and functions of powwows. Author Tracy Sorrell is a member of the Cherokee Nation, and illustrator Madeline Goodnight is a member of the Chickasaw Nation. I love the concept of Leo plus Leah by Monica Wesolowska, illustrated by Kennard Pack. This book is a celebration of friendship, math, and art that honors different ways of seeing and being in the world. Wesolowska wrote the story after meeting a child who didn't like stories and only wanted to do math, so she decided to write a book he might like. The words of the text follow the Fibonacci sequence and tell the story of when Leo, who only wants to count, meets Leah, who only wants to draw. Even the color palette in this cool book follows the Fibonacci sequence. Derek Barnes, the Caldecott and Newbery honor-winning author of Crown, an Ode to the Fresh Cut, and illustrator Vanessa Brantley Newton are back with The Queen of Kindergarten, companion to 2019's The King of Kindergarten, in which a confident young boy takes pride in his first day of kindergarten. Now it's the Queen's turn. These titles work great as tools to help future kindergartners understand what a typical school day will look like and are joyful and empowering for any child in need of a confidence boost. Next up is Forever Home, a dog and boy love story by Henry Cole. There is a dog that no one wants. Abandoned and afraid, he must use his wits to survive the city streets. Meanwhile, not far away, there is a boy who wants a dog more than anything in the world. But his parents tell him he must learn to be more responsible. Little does the boy know there is a dog nearby longing for a forever home, and that dog has his eye on our boy. Henry Cole masterfully weaves together two tender storylines that result in a heart-tugging, wordless picture book that celebrates love, kindness, and compassion for animals. Matthew Cordell, Caldecott Medal-winning author of Wolf in the Snow, has a new easy reader series, Cornbread and Poppy, the first of which comes out this month and the next in June. This series is about two best friends who are as different from each other as can be. Cornbread loves planning. Poppy does not. Cornbread adores preparing. Poppy does not. Cornbread is ready for winter. Poppy is not. But Cornbread and Poppy are the best of friends, so when Poppy is left without any food for the long winter, Cornbread volunteers to help her out. Let's turn now to juvenile fiction with Maisie Chen's Last Chance by Lisa Yee, which publishes in February. Maisie has never been to Last Chance, Minnesota, until now. Her mom's plan is just to stay for a couple weeks until her grandfather gets better. But plans change, and as Maisie spends more time in Last Chance, where she and her family are the only Asian Americans, and at the Golden Palace, the restaurant that's been in her family for generations, she makes some discoveries. For instance, you can tell a lot about someone by the way they order food. And people can surprise you, sometimes in good ways, sometimes in disappointing ways. And the Golden Palace has secrets. But the more Maisie discovers, the more questions she has. Like, why are her mom and her grandmother always fighting? Who are the people in the photographs on the office wall? And when she discovers that a beloved family treasure has gone missing and someone has left a racist note, Maisie decides it's time to find the answers. Solimar, The Sword of the Monarchs by Pam Munoz Ryan is a magical story. On the brink of her quinceañera and her official coronation, Solimar visits the Oyamel forest to sit among the monarch butterflies. There, the sun pierces through a sword-shaped crevice in a boulder which shines on her and sends the butterflies humming and swirling around her. After the magical frenzy, she realizes she's been given a gift and a burden. She can predict the near future. She has also become a protector of the young and weak butterflies. This alone would be a huge responsibility, but tragedy strikes when a neighboring king invades while her father and brother and many others are away. The remaining villagers are taken hostage, all except Solimar. Can this princess-to-be save her family, the kingdom, and the future of the monarch butterflies from a greedy and dangerous king? Award-winning author Erin Entrada Kelly has a new book releasing in March titled Those Kids from Fawn Creek. There are 12 kids in the 7th grade at Fawn Creek Middle School. They've been together all their lives. And in this small factory town where everyone knows everything about everyone, that's not necessarily a great thing. When Orchid Mason arrives, the other 7th graders don't know what to think. Orchid, who was born in New York City but just moved to Fawn Creek from Paris, seems to float. Fawn Creek Middle might be small, but it has its tightly knit groups, just like any place else. Who will claim Orchid Mason? Who will save Orchid Mason? Or will Orchid Mason save them? 12-year-old Moon struggles with depression and suicidal ideation. Every night they visit the spirit realms, hoping that they'll never have to return to their body and the world of the living again. But when the spirit realms are threatened, it's up to Moon to save their friends and begin to learn that they are as worthy and powerful as the universe itself. The author, Kaysen Callender, National Book Award winner of King and the Dragonflies, wrote this book as a love letter to their younger self, having suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts at that age. Miss Quinces is a graphic novel by Kat Fajardo, publishing in Spanish and in English this April. It tells the story of 15-year-old Sue, who just wants to spend the summer reading and making comics at sleepaway camp with her friends, but instead she gets stuck going to Honduras to visit relatives with her parents and 2 annoying sisters. They live far away, out in the country, which means no texting, no cable, and no internet. The trip takes a turn for the worse when Sue's mother announces that they'll be having a surprise quinceañera for Sue, which is the last thing she wants. And a bit of nonfiction to wrap up. Happy Sloth Day! Take a stunning sloth's eye view of the world in this beautiful and informative photographic nonfiction picture book from award-winning author and photographer April Pulley Sayer.
Hi, I'm Sarah Butts, teen librarian at the Corte Madera Library. I'm going to share a quick book list of all those great teen titles that people might have missed during the library closures in 2020 and 2021. I've broken them up by genre and have tried to include a diverse set of authors and subjects. First up is realistic fiction. Most of these titles deal with current social issues that are very much part of our teens' lives right now. Russ is a high school star football player who has his bright future laid out ahead of him. After a teammate is unfairly punished, Russ makes the decision to stand for what he believes by kneeling during the national anthem in support. The backlash from the people in his small, football-centric town is swift, and Russ's plans are instantly torn out from under his feet. Neil provides insight into the double standards inherent in the punishment of white versus black people and how insidious racism can be. This book will resonate with teens today because it illustrates the temptation to keep silent and safe instead of risking what you've got in defense of what you feel is right. It's an obvious recommendation for sports fans and activists, but thanks to Candace Buford's eloquent writing, the story has broad appeal. Much like vampire stories and dystopian novels have had eras of increased popularity, now seems to be the time for historical fiction. I've put some books based on actual events here, as well as some more fantastical titles set against a historical backdrop. Melinda Lo's National Book Award winner takes place in 1954 and follows the sexual awakening of Lily, a Chinese-American girl living in San Francisco's Chinatown. Last Night at the Telegraph Club paints a picture of our familiar city, more freewheeling than most even back then, but still affected by the residual effects of McCarthyism, growing anti-China sentiment, homophobia, and sexism. We get to see Lily stumble across and then find acceptance in San Francisco's queer community, and at the same time we see what her coming out will mean for her and her family in the context of their close-knit traditional Chinatown community. San Francisco is its own character in this book. So many teen romance books can be tragic, so I tried to keep things light in this list of new romance titles. I didn't notice until after I'd made the romance list that both Nicola and David Yoon's new titles are included, and rightly so. Both of these authors have totally recommendable previous titles as well, so either one of them is a safe bet for Romance Readers Advisory. A quick note, this literary power couple is launching a new imprint this year called Joy Revolution, dedicated to publishing love stories that are written by and that feature people of color. Instructions for Dancing is about a girl named Evie who is cynical about love due to her ability to see both the beginning and end of the relationships of those around her. As with Nicola Yoon's other books, the romance in this story is bittersweet. Super Fake Love Song is pure romantic comedy where mistaken identity leads to deception and then romance, only to have the whole ruse fall apart, risking the relationship at the end. What better to follow a romance list than with horror? These horror and supernatural titles run the gamut of the genre, from the traditional, malevolent ghosts, haunted houses, and witchcraft gone awry, to the insidiously commonplace, technology, toxic friendships, and racism. White Smoke is a truly creepy, sleep with the lights on haunted house story. After her overdose in their home in Carmel, Mari's newly assembled mixed-race stepfamily moves to Cedarville, a stand-in for Detroit, to get a fresh start. Mari discovers that the burned-out neighborhood they've moved into has a violent past, and the house they live in particular is reputed to be haunted. As symptoms of a haunting get more and more notable, Mari disregards them as dreams or her anxiety. She knows that even if she were to try to tell her family, her previous drug habits would just make them think she's using again. Which she is, but just a little. The author notes that the family's adventures at their address on Maple Street were inspired by the classic Twilight Zone episode, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, a fact that gives me chills even now. And I couldn't in good conscience exclude this super fun graphic novel about werewolves, Squad. I feel like the cover in combination with the title really says it all. This latest crop of science fiction touches on some scarily close-to-home topics: pandemics, artificial intelligence, climate change, with a couple of dystopias and alien invasion stories to make it complete. All of them are poignant in their own way, reflecting on some very real modern issues that at one time were simply speculative. Fans of time travel, apocalypse fiction, and survival stories will find a lot to love in The Electric Kingdom by David Arnold. After the fly flu, which is way worse even than it sounds, wipes out most of humanity, survivors are left to reconstruct or redirect their lives as they can. Told from 3 different perspectives, the book follows Nico, a teen sent on a quest to find a mythic portal by her ailing father, Kit, a 12-year-old traveling with a group of other kids after his mom is taken by the flu, and the mysterious deliverer, who seems to be a bit of a time traveler. At its core, this mind-blower of a book is about human connection and the persistent beauty of living in the world. The writing is instantly engaging and vivid, and the characters are so relatably human. It's been fun to see over the last few years how new teen fantasy authors are diversifying and reimagining the worlds that their stories take place in. As much as we love those Tolkien-esque quests and druidic wizards, it's wonderful to see settings inspired by less Eurocentric mythologies, featuring characters with diverse ethnicities. On this list, I included 2020's immensely popular The Gilded Ones and Raybearer, and 2021's Beasts of Prey, all of which are the first in series that promise to continue incredible Africa-inspired world building. For those who can't resist those Arthurian legends, Tracy Deon's 2020 award winner is unmissable. Legendborn, the first in this series, takes the stories of Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table and inserts them in the American South, exploring family legacy, tradition, slavery, and exclusion. Within the first 24 hours as a student in her early college program at UNC Chapel Hill, Bree witnesses a monster attacking students and stumbles across 3 members of a secret society of mages, descended from the Knights of the Round Table. She discovers that she too is tied to this ancient heritage by way of a European slave owner, and also that she has ancestral magic from the other side of her family tree. When Bree learns that one of the mages might have murdered her mother, she decides to infiltrate the Order of the Round Table to find out why. But her growing connection to several of its members makes it hard to completely turn against the organization, despite its deeply racist history and fundamental flaws. And yes, there is a love triangle. Mysteries and thrillers have also seemed to be popular these days, and 2021 belonged to The Firekeepers Daughter. It's an obvious choice for this list, although it's doubtful it was missed. We'll see it again soon, as the Obamas have picked it up for their Netflix docket. There's some familiar names on the list. Jennifer Lynn Barnes has a significant history in this genre, and it's nice to see Kendara Blake trying her versatile hand at a historical thriller. But I do want to particularly call out Karen McManus, who had a new book to offer in both 2020 and 2021. She can always be counted on to provide a twisty, chilling tale, safe bet for teen mystery recommendations anytime. Who doesn't love a mystery set amongst the cutthroat denizens of an exclusive private school? Senior year starts on a high note for Chiamaka and Devin, the only two black students at Nivea's private academy, when they are both selected to be prefects. But it quickly starts to deteriorate as an anonymous texter calling themselves aces starts tearing them down by revealing their secrets to the school. Even worse, it seems as though aces is targeting them because they are black. As it becomes apparent that people they thought were allies and friends are most certainly not, Chiamaka and Devin find themselves in a tense struggle not only to be the first black students to ever graduate from Nivea's, but also just to simply survive. While it incorporates weighty themes like systemic and institutional racism, homophobia, and gender politics, Farida Abike Iyamide's Ace of Spades is also just a thrill ride of a story.
This is Clara, back now for a look ahead to some 2022 teen titles. First up is Aint Burned All the Bright by Jason Reynolds and Jason Griffin. Prepare yourself for something unlike anything, a smash-up of art and text for teens that viscerally captures what it is to be black in America right now. Written by #1 New York Times best-selling and award-winning author Jason Reynolds. Jason Reynolds and his best bud Jason Griffin had a mind meld, and they decided to tackle it in one fell swoop. In about 10 sentences and 300 pages of art, this piece, this contemplation manifesto, fierce, vulnerable, gorgeous, terrifying, what is wrong with humans, hope-filled, hopeful, searing, eye-poppingly illustrated, tender, heartbreaking, how the heck did they come up with this project about oxygen? And all of the symbolism attached to that word, especially now. And so, for anyone who didn't really know what it means to not be able to breathe, really breathe, for generations, now you know. And those who already do, you'll be nodding, yep, that is exactly how it is. Sunny G's Series of Rash Decisions by Navdeep Singh Dhillon publishes next month. Sunny G's brother left him one thing when he died, his notebook, which he's determined to fill up with a series of rash decisions. Decision number 1 was a big one. He took off his turban, cut off his hair, and shaved his beard. He doesn't look like a Sikh anymore. He doesn't look like himself anymore. He put on a suit and debuted his new look at prom, but apparently changing his look doesn't change everything. Sunny still doesn't fit in there, and all he wants to do is go to the Harry Potter after party where his best friend Ngozi and their band were supposed to be playing a show tonight. Enter Mindy Vang, a girl he's never met before but who's about to change his life. Sunny and Mindy head off on an all-night adventure through their city, a night full of rash, wonderful, romantic, stupid, huge decisions. This Woven Kingdom by National Book Award nominated Tohare Mafi is the first in an epic, romantic trilogy inspired by Persian mythology. To all the world, Alizé is a disposable servant, not the long-last heir to an ancient Jinn kingdom forced to hide in plain sight. The crown prince, Kamran, has heard the prophecies foretelling the death of his king. But he could never have imagined that the servant girl with the strange eyes, the girl he can't put out of his mind, would one day soon uproot his kingdom and the world. The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O, publishing next month, tells the story of a girl carving out her own destiny in this retelling of a classic Korean folktale. In hopes of satisfying the sea god and averting devastating floods and storms, villages sacrifice a fair maiden every year. People believe that when the true bride of the sea god is found, all disasters and sacrifices will forever cease. 16-year-old Mina's focus is on saving her brother June, who breaks protocol to follow his love, this year's sacrificial bride, out to sea. June plans to fight the sea god's dragon servant, but Mina stows away on the boat and throws herself into the water instead. Mina wakes up in the spirit realm to find a ribbon wound around her palm and connecting her to a handsome young sea god caught in an enchantment. Award-winning, best-selling author Ruta Sepetys is back with I Must Betray You. 17-year-old Christian Florescu, with his spiky hair, love of poetry and English, and crush on Liliana Pavel, is as much of a rebel as it's possible to be in Bucharest, Romania in 1989. Communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu has been in power for 24 years, and most Romanians live in poverty, exporting what they produce to unknowingly fund Ceausescu's obscenely extravagant lifestyle. When an agent confronts Christian with evidence of treason, a single dollar bill tucked inside his notebook, Christian agrees to spy on the American diplomat family whose son he's become friendly with. But as young Romanians gradually become aware that other countries have gained freedom from communism, they rise up in an unconquerable wave. Sepetys brilliantly blends a staggering amount of research with heart, craft, and insight in a way very few writers can. Told from Christian's point of view, intercut by secret police memos and Christian's own poetry, the novel crackles with energy. Christian and his friends join the groundswell of young Romanians, combining pragmatism, subterfuge, hope, and daring. Victoria Schwab's Gallant tells the story of Olivia Pryor, who has grown up in the Maryland School for Girls. All she has of her past is her mother's journal, which seems to unravel into madness. Then a letter invites Olivia to come home to Gallant. Yet when Olivia arrives, no one is expecting her. But Olivia is not about to leave the first place that feels like home. It doesn't matter if her cousin Matthew is hostile or if she sees half-formed ghouls haunting the hallways. Olivia knows that Gallant is hiding secrets, and she is determined to uncover them. When she crosses a ruined wall at just the right moment, Olivia finds herself in a place that is Gallant, but not. The manor is crumbling, the ghouls are solid, and a mysterious figure rules over all. Now Olivia sees what has unraveled generations of her family and where her father may have come from. Olivia has always wanted to belong somewhere, but will she take her place as a Pryor, protecting our world against the master of the house, or will she take her place beside him? From Daniel Jose Older, the author of the award-winning Shadow Shaper Cipher series, comes the first novel in the Outlaw Saints duology. Almost 16 years ago, Mateo Matisse's island homeland disappeared into the sea. Weary and hopeless, the survivors of San Madrigal's sinking escaped to New York. While the rest of his tight-knit Brooklyn diaspora community dreams of someday finding a way back home, Mateo, now a high school junior and piano prodigy living with his two aunts, is focused on one thing: getting the attention of locally grown musical legend Gerval. Mateo finally hits his chance on the night of the Grand Fete, an annual party celebrating the blended cultures of pirates, Cuban Santeros, and Sephardic Jews that created San Madrigal all those centuries ago. But the evil that sank their island has finally caught up with them, and on the night of the celebration, Mateo's life is forever changed when he witnesses a brutal murder by a person he thought he knew. Suddenly, Mateo is thrust into an ancient battle that spans years and oceans. Deadly secrets are unraveled, and Mateo awakens a power within himself that not only links him to the killer, but could also hold the key to unlocking the dark mystery behind his lost homeland. Thank you so much for joining us for Marin County Free Library's Children and Teen Literature Review 2022. Links to the BiblioCommons lists are on the final slide.